Welcome back to the Midday Update. I'm Jessie Chahal. According to Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz, a total of 3,058 SME applications involving a loan value of 742.8 million ringgit has been approved under the Bernama SME financing scheme as of September 18th. The government has allocated 2 billion for the facility, with priority given to SMEs that have never received any financing from banks. The maximum loan size per SME is 500,000 ringgit. In addition, the government disbursed 73.6 million ringgit under the Tekun Business Recovery Scheme as of September 18th, benefiting 11,059 micro SMEs. Now, the Finance Minister has added that the schemes under the Penjana package helps provide access to financing in order to alleviate SMEs' short-term cash flow burdens. More on SMEs right now to talk about the brief respite during the MCO, which will end effectively today. That's right, the bank moratorium will end today. The government has looked at various options and, of course, trying to find out or trying to focus and have a more targeted approach to find the balance between the country's economy and, of course, the rakyat's needs. To discuss how the moratorium has helped businesses plan their finances, as well as the options that are available to restructure debts to prepare for the reinstatement of the loan repayments, I'm right now joined via phone by Kung Lin Lung, Chairman of SMEs Committee, the Associated Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia, AAA CIM. Thanks for joining us, Kung, and welcome to the Midday Update. Now, how has the moratorium helped your industry so far?
Yeah, thanks, Jessie, for having me. In fact, at this pandemic situation, business cash flow, I think, is the most crucial for the business survival. In fact, this moratorium will be able to help all the businesses, especially to maintain their fixed operating expenditure and the cash flow, such as salary, rental, and the monthly tax payment. I think this is a great relief to ease their cash flow. In fact, during the ACCIM survey, the quick survey, more than half of the businesses enjoy this 6-month moratorium. And then because of this Bencana facility, they'll be able to maintain this employee in their employment as well. Yeah.
Right. And so furthering that, what does the end of the moratorium mean for retail industry players, and how are they preparing for it?
This, in fact, is today, end of moratorium. In fact, their liability which crystallized in the last 6 months, they got to revise this liability, and then they have to go on and pay if they don't apply for the so-called restructuring and the rescheduling of the loan. This means that extra cash flow from the business need to be there for the repayment. Because in view of the sales traffic at the retail outlet is still not there yet as pre-MCO. I think there got to be a hard time, and then more times in the business in order to repay this loan repayment.
Right. But at this point, we also must admit that many businesses are still struggling, Kung. What should they do at this inflection point?
In fact, at this moment, we know we are afraid of the other country, the second wave, in view of the recent rise of the cases of COVID-19. I think because as of now, end of today, the moratorium by today, if they think that, let's say, they want to go on, they must contact the bank for the restructuring. Mm-hmm. If they are still struggling, they have to contact the bank early, for the repayment.
Right, and what kind of assistance or what types of assistance can businesses tap onto, and how can they get access to them? You mentioned banks, for example, but what are some other types of assistance for businesses, even from the banks or other financial institutions?
The most important, the businesses, especially the SME, they must contact the bank. If the bank didn't contact them, because the bank has been contacting more than 2 million of the individual or the business borrower, that the bank will offer them for R&R, such as the restructuring and rescheduling of their loan. For instance, they can only pay interest for the next 3 months or 6 months, and then to reduce the amount of repayment, some things like that.
Right, but Kung, for SMEs, SME owners who are watching at this point right now, can you share perhaps, aside from the banks, some tips on how businesses can take charge of their finances? Obviously, a very worrying point today as the loan repayments will begin tomorrow itself. So what are some of the tips you have that you could share with industry players and SME owners?
As I mentioned just now, they must contact the bank at the first place. If now they must prepare the cash flow budgeting, the cash in and cash out for the next 3 months, 6 months, or 18 months to show to the bankers, and then they must review the products, the products that can bring in the cash flow rather than the product that is profitability now, because at this bad time we must have the cash flow, and then they must review their loan repayment. Any government assistance or program, they must go and look for it at this moment.
So Right. Thank you very much, Kung Lin Lung, Chairman of the SMEs Committee with the Associated Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia, ACCCIM. Thank you for joining us today, and of course also sharing your insights on how businesses can resume to some sort of normalcy post the moratorium. Now, the government